evening. You're live on Contact. Is this Charlie?
Yes, it is. Can you hear me?
Charlie Kundallini. Thank you so much for joining us this evening on Contact. I've been telling the listeners out there just a little bit about you, and thank you so much for joining us. How are you feeling as 2013 ticks up? Have you been aware of the influx of energy, of the extra photonic energy that we're getting?
Well, there is an increased amount of light energy that's coming in that can very easily throw off a lot of individuals. But I do believe that a lot of the light workers and a lot of the professionals in the field have not diagnosed the 2012 factor correctly. And a lot of the populace is under quite a bit of confusion.
Yes, they certainly are. In fact, we have, spent a good deal of time discussing that in the last several episodes of Contact as we passed through this well, I would have to call it a cosmological alignment. Now, it is a fact, it's a scientific fact that there are huge amounts of solar energy being directed towards us. There's also energy coming out of the center of the Milky Way galaxy. So, my feeling is that I believe that all of this light energy, as you say, is increasing our sensitivity. It may be activating the pineal gland in some way, but certainly, even in my practice, in my hypnotherapy practice, people are coming to me and reporting psychic experiences just right out of the blue. So there is a huge thing going on.
Absolutely, absolutely, and this will continue to happen. And the more prepared an individual is, the more they know, if they have that confidence, they can really excel during these times. Yeah.
We must proceed without fear, and we must proceed with confidence. I really believe we cannot. Fear is the tool that's wielded by the dark side, in my opinion. That's their big weapon, is controlling us with fear. So, anyway, before we get on a big dark trip about black budgets and these different things, Charlie, how did you first become interested really in extraterrestrial contact? Did you have some experiences as a child or in your past life?
Actually, I had very little experiences as a young man or a child, but there was, when I look back at photographs of myself, I could see that I'm completely detached to what was going on around me. And when I look at myself back then as a child, I could see that I was here, put on I was here for an assignment. And you don't realize you have that assignment until you get older. And I didn't have my first experience till I was 18 years old. And even when I did have that experience, I was still very much a skeptic. Now, I didn't start awakening till, way down into my early 30s. That's when I really started to realize that there was more to this earth than just what we've been taught in school. Yeah. And through continuously, I was getting experiences very often. I got cleansed and downloaded. Cleansed means when you have a contact, you're never aware of any of your contacts. Your mind is completely wiped, but yet subconsciously, there was some form of contact. Now, I believe we're all contactees. We just, a lot of us just don't know that side. Now, I've been contacted, and when contact is made, there's some great things that happen. And one of those great things is for them to contact you, they have to cleanse you, clean you, open your third eye, and then they're able to communicate with you. So that is one of the great things about going through contact. Now, once you've been contacted, and if you come back afraid, or you come back nervous, or you come back disheveled, then you completely lose all the benefits of that contact. So remaining cool, calm, and collective, despite a paranormal experience, is really a gift from the gods.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, as these experiences were happening, this UFO club was just about ready to go bankrupt. And my friend, good friend, the guy that really started opening my eyes to a lot of the mysteries and secret societies, Ken Corrigan, he encouraged me, Charlie, you gotta run this group. Let's get this group. So I ended up becoming the organizer of an alien UFO group that really had no direction. And even at that time, I did not know very much about aliens and UFOs. I was very much a skeptic, but just as interested as any other normal person is. And being an organizer of a group, you know, it's a form of responsibility. People
Yes, it certainly is, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people had a lot of questions, a lot of answers. It became serious stuff. You know, hi, I'm an abductee, I don't know what to do. Or, hi, I got sleep paralysis. There are some serious cases. And, you know, I'm a lucky guy because I've been through so many of all these things. I've been through sleep paralysis and laughed it off. I've been attacked by demons and laughed in their faces. And, you know, if you really want to kill a demon, if you just laugh at them, they really run for cover.
Yeah, they don't like to be mocked. They have no sense of humor, I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, that's correct. And a lot of these New Age individuals, and you know, they're always talking love. You got to be in love, the love vibration. Love cures all, and love is a very powerful force, especially when you're dealing with interdimensional entities. But also, on the contrary, laughter and humor is also a weapon just as powerful. And, you know, it really hardens me, and it makes me cry when I keep seeing all these gurus out there, you know, not coming out with the vibration of laughter, right?
Yes, and you know, Charlie, I think we may have touched on this before, we may have discussed this, but, you know, laughter and humor are a huge part of the healing process. Using humor and laughter, just like, you know, so many years ago, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale said that really, you know, in my work when I'm dealing with pain management and people recovering from illnesses and battling cancer, I really make sure that they're seeing funny movies, and they're because laughter is healing. Laughter and humor are healing. It's just that simple.
Yeah, and I think on this radio show, we a lot of these gurus, hopefully that they're listening, and you know, they start taking the term of humor, or the vibration of humor, the vibration of love, as two equally important weapons that should be disclosed to the public.
Yes, yes. Tell me, Charlie, what is perhaps I'm sure our listeners would all like to know, what is a vibrational dowser.
Okay.
And what are you using the dowsing processes for specifically?
Okay. Being a vibrational dowser, it's very different than being a pendulum dowser. Now, a vibrational dowser, you actually become the pendulum. And as the pendulum, when you go into an area or you pose a question, right, your body feels a vibration or an energetic communication. Now,
Yes.
this can only work if you remove yourself from the equation. And what that means is when you use your body as an antenna to a situation or an information, you step outside of yourself. Because if you're inside of yourself, then your ego is in the way.
Yeah. So it's a bit like channeling in that sense. You're sort of stepping aside, eh?
Absolutely, absolutely. You cannot channel if you're in there. You can only channel if you're looking from the outside. So that's one of the big secrets of channeling and also vibrational dowsing. And I'll give you an example. I can walk right through the Eaton Center, and I can walk through one store, right? And I get a signal. I walk through another store, it's a completely different signal. And every store that you walk to has a different signal. And there are some stores I'll walk right into, and it's like, there's cancer here. Or walk to another store, this store is vibrant. Walk to another store, this is a vibration of inferiority, right? And each area or each thing has an energetic template, and it's interpreting that energetic template. And even telepathy itself is an interpretation of really energy. Yeah. So this is how a vibrational dowser and even channeling techniques can work. Now, there's also the question or the subject, right? You have to have that, because if you're gonna just be an antenna, then you'll be picking up various forms of information. If there is an assignment or if there's a question, then you can zero in on that question, right? And find out a lot of impossible answers. Yeah.
Is this technique, I wonder, being used with regard to cold cases? I know that the police, more than they would like publicly known, work with sensitives and people like yourself who are dowsers, trance channelers. They work with whoever they can when when they're at their wit's end, when they have nothing to go on.
Yeah, absolutely. A vibrational dowser or channeler can have abilities that can get closer to the crimes. And, I'm sure a lot of these detectives, they're missing a factor, and that factor is consciousness. You can be a mechanical policeman, and you could be so successful, but when you're a mechanical policeman, you're missing 80% of the fact. So a good detective would also be a good channeler. And I was going to say another technique and tool is I call it unbiasedness. And this is a huge problem with channelers and even detective work. If you have a tunnel vision, or if you're unbiased, let's say there's somebody that doesn't look right, or there's somebody that doesn't, and you have a biasness to channelings, then you're not ever going to have any correct answers. And in the terms of finding information, what I do is I empty myself out. I take away all my love. I take away all my hate. I take away all my judgments. I take everything out of me so that my pendulum or my body is at zero. Mm-hmm. And once it's at zero, then you can gauge. That's the gauge. But if you're not at zero, if you have love in you, you're going to get wrong readings. If you have hate in you, you're going to get wrong readings. So when you're channeling or you're vibrational dowsing, you have to be at zero. If you're going to be a detective and, you're already zeroing in on somebody, that could be a very big problem. I can
see that. Wow.
Yeah, you can always zero in, but you always zero in from zero, which is an unemotional or unconscious, unbiased influence. And this is another principle that I use. So it's a combination of many principles which helps you get those readings and that information.
Do you ever surround yourself with white light, Charlie? Because it seems that when you are becoming, a blank slate, as it were, and stepping aside, that you are, vulnerable, a bit vulnerable, and I'm just wondering if you do surround yourself with a white bubble or do some sort of ritual that's similar to that.
Well, I've had so many interdimensional battles, so many. I've been to hell and heaven back so many times that you become adept at it or you become good at it. And our emotions and our consciousness or our astral body is the actual part of us that reaches the fourth, fifth, sixth, up into the ninth dimensional energies or worlds. And if you command or you have a command of those energies, of that consciousness and your emotions, I mean, you can knock a reptilian out with your chi force. A lot of humans don't know that, but the chi force is a brutal force. And the chi force is
animus, kind of like our animal, our basic animal energy, kind of.
Yeah, it usually comes out of your stomach, and it's like an electrical force. And if you know how to channel it and shoot it out, the reptilian will fly about 10 feet and fall on the ground.
Wow.
Right? And
sure.
Go ahead.
I wanted you to go finish your thought, but I was actually just going to ask you about your personal contact with extraterrestrials or ultra-terrestrials. What varieties of beings do you interact with most frequently?
Okay. I've never ever come across a gray. Now I've seen a fairy, and the fairy was just it looked like light.
Yeah.
When it moved, it was all light. It was hard to come up with a body to the fairy, right? And my interpretation was it was a light being.
Yes.
I came across a dwarf, and I was sleeping, and I would feel something playing with me, and it kind of felt good, right? And when I was sleeping, I thought they were babies, or there was a baby on top of me. And maybe it was a baby, and you know, I could feel it. But I know that if I open my eyes, it'll be gone. And the energy on top of me will be gone. And it was cleaning me out, fixing me up, you know, doing a bit of work, healing work. And when I opened my eyes, I have peripheral vision, so I could see behind me. And I saw a dwarf just leave, and it just dematerialized. It was really incredible, and even the clothes that it wore and stuff, right? You know, dwarfs are an extraterrestrial race. They're miners, right? They still wear their mining clothes, but you know, at the same time, the dwarfs were not happy with mining. They were interested in other technologies, and there was a grumpiness to them.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're very willing. Elementals in general can be very willing to help. I don't know if you've ever read any of the material written by Doreen Virtue. She's written quite a bit about elementals and fairies, and I followed some of her steps. Actually, she had, you know, some steps to take that would allow you to have, you know, visual contact with elementals. And I did see in my garden tiny beings of light, as what you're describing. Only what I saw was so small. These were, maybe it was because it was a vegetable garden and those fairies are that size. How do I know? But they manifested as tiny lights.
Yeah, that's how we interpret them, or that's how we see them. Us humans, the way we're made is that we can only see a certain aspect of what is. And of what is, we interpret in such a way. And this is a third dimensional human being. Now, a fourth and fifth and sixth dimensional being, they would look at the world in a different way.
Yeah.
So because of our limitations, our eyes can only see and our minds can only interpret a specific type of world. But obviously there's a lot more than to the worlds and to the physicality than our senses can correctly interpret.
Indeed, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think I do think that the veil is thinning, and part of what's going on in this new era is that we are transitioning into the fourth and possibly fifth dimension. And I know a lot of people have expected an instantaneous kind of almost, you know, biblical, you know, raising up, and but in fact, you know, I think that that's happened in the energetic world, and that there's a trickle down effect, and so you know, it's maybe not as rapid as most people would like, but very definitely there is a transition going on, and that veil is thinning, and people are having more and more visual experiences all the time, where they're able to see, you know, spirits or elementals, or maybe even angelic beings.
Yeah, yeah.
And, have you ever had contact with an angelic being?
No, I haven't. It's not to say that they aren't there. I have. I'll continue with what I've had contact with.
Oh, yes.
I had contact with a tall white, and you know, I felt the force. I was having nightmares, reoccurring nightmares of snakes, and I'd be sleeping, and 6 huge snakes would just crawl all over my body, and this was a reoccurring nightmare. And when you have 6 huge snakes crawling all over your body, you're supposed to be scared, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I wasn't scared. right? And so these snakes would be coming through my body, coming through. And I remember the first dream that I had, I just woke up. A couple days later, the same dream. But, I didn't wake up. And one of the snakes eventually took a bite at me. And then I woke up. Now, another time, same thing was happening. There's snakes. It seems as though the snakes were getting a little more aggressive. And one time, the snakes were all over my body. I wasn't scared again. Because if you're scared, then you're game. So, I wasn't programmed to be scared. And maybe I'll tell you why I don't have the program of fear in that respect, or how I conquered it. So yes. When I got bitten, I opened up my eyes, and it was different at that point. Everything was pixelated around me. And when you open your eyes and everything's pixelated, what that means is that you're in a field of light, or it's like a blanket energy. Picture when you get abducted, they send an energy, which could be a light form. Usually it's a light form, and all that area in that energy, or in that blanket form energy, all typical Earth sciences cease to work. So when you're in a field, there is no 3D. We're talking 5D, 6D sciences, where you could elevate. Anything can happen. And when I looked, I saw a being and I thought it was my brother, because my brother was like upstairs, and I go, Max, is it you? Max, what are you doing? And the thing just wouldn't answer. And then it slowly turned its head, and I saw what it looked like. And what it looked like was a tall white, and it had this big, huge blue eyes. And a beam came out of the blue eye and hit me right on my third eye. And when that happened, I went to zero, interpreted the energy. The energy was to knock me out, right? So I interpreted what the light from his eyes was to knock me out. And so I slowly went to sleep, but I still stayed conscious. And after a certain point of me being asleep, it was on top of me. They move so fast that it's completely unhuman. Because that would have been a fraction of a second from, I'd say, a 10, 13-foot walk. So they can move very, very, very quickly in that world. And yes. It went right on top of me, and it started pressing. That feeling when you've been drinking, or somebody's been drinking that are listening to the radio, and you're being pushed down. You feel a force just weighing you down and into something. That was the feeling it gave me. And I knew that if I opened my eyes, it'd be gone. So I opened my eyes, and boom, the thing was gone. Right? I never heard anything about it. But that was a fantastic experience.
What do you think was I'm sorry, Charlie. What do you think was the being's intention? Did you feel that the being was neutral, or that it was malevolent, or that it was trying to do something physiologically for you?
It was a malevolent experience. I mean, it probably was kind of upset at me for something. All right. he was very upset that I seen it to begin with, right? They don't like to be noticed. You know, they want to be invisible. They don't want to be known. And the tall whites are, they are a very secretive group. They disguise, the tall whites are the men in black in disguise.
So they're shapeshifters in a sense.
They're able to, I've never heard about shape-shifting, but they do use technologies to mask themselves.
Yeah.
So they probably have clothing that has technological aspects to it. So what would it be? Clothing technology. They probably wear masks, and they probably use cloaking and some other techniques. I believe a tall white would be a Nordic and tall Zeta Reticuli mix.
Oh, okay.
That's what they look like. So picture a tall Zeta Reticuli, which you know Oz in The Wizard of Oz? You know the face? That's a Zeta Reticuli.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that, right? And and a Nordic is...
These are...
Go ahead.
There have been quite a few reports about the beings that you described living full-time on various bases, secret bases in the U.S. They appear to have some type of big affiliation with government programs. In fact, there was very recently a young, no, he's now extremely elderly, but there's a very elderly retired soldier who told quite a few stories about being assigned out to Area 51 or somewhere out there, and his experiences with all of the whites that were living there.
Yeah. They're the type of species that most people have had contact with, but just don't know it.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
They live among us. They also reportedly have a base in the moon. Mm-hmm. So they go to the moon, and the rumor is that they were created by a reptilian race, where they took some helpless Zeta Reticulis, or defenseless, and some Nordics, and spliced them together and created a race that could breed by sexual means.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, there's been fiddling about with DNA since since the creation of the Earth. Various cultures have been here. The Anunnaki, of course, and the truth is that many of us are, in fact, even carrying otherworldly DNA. It's just we are the product of a lot of extraterrestrial intervention, whether we wanted it or not. So that's quite fascinating. Charlie, tell me a little bit about your work as a paranormal investigator. Are you going into haunted locations, or what kind of stuff are you investigating?
Well, I'm working with Euphoria Chronicles, and James is another individual that's very adept and very extremely intuitive and brave, and I team up with him, and Skullman, he's here right now.
Yes.
He's also a very brave and trusted friend, and the three of us are. We often get calls for people who have experiences or some of events that happen to them where they can't explain and they need help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we go out there and document and try and make some sense of it. And we've helped out a lot of people in our UFO clubs that have gone mad and a little bit psychotic, as you could say. Now, the very important thing is if there's people out there that don't believe in any of this, to keep an open mind to it, because if something ever does happen to them and they've refused and have never accepted anything other than what they've been taught in school or by the common media outlets, they could very well go mad. And this is why it's so important for people like us to disclose these happenings.
Yes.
Prevent psychoticness, really.
Yeah, well, that's true. People are, if something comes along that shakes someone's belief system, their core belief system, significantly enough, that can lead to a psychotic break. I mean, it does happen, and everybody needs to be opening their mind. But I do think, on a positive note, I mean, just even looking at the type of programming that's on mainstream television, Ghost Hunters, Paranormal State, Medium, I mean, there's so much programming now that is really opening people's, yes, it's through drama, and it's not always realistic, but it is opening people's minds to possibilities. And if this programming were not successful, if people weren't watching this type of stuff, it wouldn't be on the air. So we are seeing an attitudinal shift, I believe.
Yes, so true. And it's going to continue to get there. At what levels are we going to reach is still very interesting. But I'd say in the next 20 years, there'll be organic robotoids, organic robotoid beings among us. There'll be cloned beings among us. There'll be tailor-made or designer humans that are going to be born. There's going to be, if we're allowed to evolve, the next 20 or 30 years, our race is really going to make some headlines, and it's very, very important that people open up to this and be prepared for that truth. And on the same path, there's a strong element out there that's trying to devolve humanity, turning us into circus freaks. And you could see that with the vaccinations and the GM foods that are deforming people. And you look at a guy like Stephen Hawkins, purportedly one of the greatest scientists. I mean, he's in a wheelchair. And not to have anything against people in a wheelchair, but, extraterrestrials don't have beings that are in wheelchairs. Only Earth humans do. And this is a created, when we see people in wheelchairs, it's a created species of us and not necessarily who we are.
Well, it's a manifestation, yes. Is that what you mean, Charlie?
It's a manifestation of poisons and toxins and the movement of certain corporations and industries and certain leaders that are trying to create two classes of human species. A superb species and a degraded species. Eventually, the degraded species will be who knows what they'll be used for, right? But you know, it's something.
Well,
it's something that we.
To create. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, it's something that we should take note of going forward. Is the evolvement of humanity and what the ruling factors and leaders are doing to devolve the human being.
Absolutely. And this concept of a slave race, of a worker class, I mean, these are old ideas that were instilled in us by, you know, by the Anunnaki when the first, you know, Adama, the first physical beings were created by their genetic manipulation. They wanted to, you know, as the work of Zechariah Sitchin has translated, you know, they wanted a slave race that would be mining gold. But we surprised them and began to evolve and become, and they had to change their plans. So this desire of servants and masters is an ancient and terrible part of us that's been perpetuated, you know, by, you know, royalty and, you know, even by, you know, maniacs like Hitler. It's these ideas are ancient and they have to go. Their time is over. That's a part of the old world. That's part of the old ignorant world, I would have to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is. It definitely is.
So, Charlie, tell me a little bit about maybe one or two of the most interesting or intriguing cases that you and James and Skullman have been investigating.
We're investigating a case of. We're not going to use names or anything, but
No.
I'll just give you a varied explanation. There's people that are in institutions that can't function properly. We deal with professionals that are afraid that they can't think in terms of their work and their professional life. Ghost hauntings. And you know, we had an individual who had trouble with sleep paralysis.
Yes.
We had somebody that was had bipolar disease, and you know, a lot of these mental diseases, very, very interesting because there isn't an extraterrestrial corner to it, and that is if you're let's say, for instance, if you're schizophrenic, it's a lot of authority. I mean, you could see things, talking to dimensions. There's nothing wrong with being a schizophrenic unless it's labeled. The problem is if you're a paranoid schizophrenic, then it becomes a problem. But if you're a schizophrenic, you're a super being. And a lot of times we consult schizophrenics in the sense that if we can take away their paranoia, then they can become enlightened beings. So our medical establishment and even psychiatry, in a lot of ways, creates a lot of problems when it comes to individuals. A lot of these schizophrenic and bipolar people have an awful lot of traffic with entities that are communicating with them.
Yeah.
And, you know, spirits, archons, extraterrestrial beings that have their ways of of manipulating and getting into you, microchipping.
Yeah.
An adept human can will surely be able to maneuver themselves in a way that they are protected from these forces that make you go crazy.
Well, there's an awful lot of truth to what you're talking about, Charlie. And years ago, of course, I have a psychology degree, and I was also a psychiatric technician. And I worked, while at university, I worked in a state mental hospital all night on a graveyard shift.
Yeah.
And anyway, I saw a lot of very profound mental illness going on, and this was really before. This is so long ago. It was really before we had psychotropic drugs. There was Thorazine, a couple of things like that, but they didn't know anything about dosing. They were still using straitjackets and padded rooms. So I had the chance to hear a lot of the free association and the communication that seemed to be going on. And I really believe that many of these people were just an open channel. As you say, they just had traffic in and out. And of course, in this structure, or series of structures where this state hospital was, it was, extremely gothic and old. And of course, the whole place had been built on, some kind of area where the Native Americans who were mentally ill, were put in a pen until they died of exposure. I mean, the land was tainted, the whole thing was bad, and many of these poor people were, in fact, just unable to control their who was coming into them.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And a lot of those people that were institutionalized, believe it or not, were doctors that cured cancer, a scientist. A lot of them ended up in these institutions, and the reason why they ended up in there was because they didn't agree with the medical procedures, or they didn't agree with science's direction. And these people were unlawfully taken, strapped up, drugged, and lobotomized for that purpose. And it's a terrible thing to see a doctor who's saved hundreds and hundreds of lives end up in an institution because a group or a group was trying to make enormous profits and hijack a trade. Yeah.
Well, I think you guys are doing an awful lot of good because in allaying fears and helping people to get real medical help when they need it, and helping people to distinguish the difference between perhaps some mental health issues and a real encounter with an ET. So I just want to thank you and James and Skullman for this wonderful work that you're doing. And Charlie, believe it or not, our time is almost up. So I just cannot thank you enough for joining us this evening. It's been fascinating to chat with you.
Yeah, and likewise. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And how can our listeners get in touch with you if they wanted to follow up or had a question for you?
They could contact. There's two websites that we work out of. One is UFOria website. They can join UFOria. There's another group. It's called Alien UFOs in Outer and Inner Space.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
on meetup.com.
Okay. And we'll put that up on our website for our listeners as well. And I know James is going to join us on the show again very soon. And Paul is coming on too.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much. That's going to be great fun. Thank you so much, Charlie, and you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I hope to see you real soon.
Okay, thank you, Lesley, and it was great talking to you. Bye.
You're so welcome, Charlie.
Okay.
Take care now.
Okay, bye.